Yes, hello.
Eliza Ho is also with us. Okay. Our next scheduled meeting, welcome Eliza. Our next scheduled meeting is April 21st at 3:30. It's a WebEx hearing. You can participate at, by looking it up at www.columbus.gov. We have a quorum, so I will ask if we can have the commissioners. Whoops, before I do that, I have to swear you in. Right, Lori? Yes?
Yes, we'd ask that you swear in the commissioners and then swear in staff and those who are here to speak.
All right. I'm happy to ask our commissioners if they will swear to tell the truth and only the truth today. Answer by saying yes, and you have to be on video when you say it.
Yes.
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 That's everyone. Thank you. And I do too. I swear it. Lori and Tom, I also have to ask you if you are speaking, please. Not Tom? Pat?
Patrick?
Just Lori?
Yeah.
Okay. Lori, would you swear to tell the truth today, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And may we just swear in everybody who's here right now, or do we have to do it? Yes, I may do that now. So if I have it correctly on the participants list, I have Annie Keener, Brian Suter, Eric Alessandrini, Lee Oldershaw, Mandy McCaskey, and is there anyone else on this call? I will ask you all to swear that you will be telling the truth and nothing but today. And you must be on video to answer.
Yes.
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 Do we get all that? Thank you. All right, now I'll ask the commissioners to approve the hearing summary from October 21st. If you had a chance to check it out, and if you have any questions, please ask, or I'll take a motion for approval.
I motion to approve it.
I'm happy to second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. There are no applications on this agenda, but I want to say up front that I'm thrilled that all of you were able to come and talk to us about your projects. It means a lot to us because we get to see the good thinking that's out there, allowing us to respond to you if we have any comments. It helps connect us to you. So I appreciate that you're here. And Lori, I'll send it over to you and mute myself.
Thank you very much. The first project that I would like to introduce is the Olentangy Mural Project with Harrison West Society and the Harrison West Arts. This is exciting. It's an outgrowth from a neighborhood that has done a lot of public art projects, and those projects have come before the Art Commission. The person that I've been speaking with the most, I think the point person for this, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, is Lee Oldershaw. And Lee, I'd like to ask you to introduce folks from your committee that are here today to speak to the commission and present this project.
Okay, excellent. Did I get started now? Sorry, this is the first time I've done this.
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to say thank you for letting us have this opportunity to get some feedback, because I think I can pretty much speak for everybody on our committee, and this is the first time that we've done this. Even though Harrison West Society has been involved in a lot of art projects, this is the first time that I think we as individuals have been. So on the call today, we have me. I'm the secretary of Harrison West Arts. We also have Annie Keener, I think. So she can answer some questions too. She's the president of Harrison. Yeah, I was gonna say, are you there, Annie? She's the president of Harrison West Arts. And then we also have Eric Alessandrini, who is the vice president. And so, you know, they can chime in as well if they have extra information to add. Okay, so I'm not sure how much detail you want. So if I'm going into too much detail, please shout at me. If you have questions as you go, super happy to pause and go into more depth on anything. This is a joint project between Harrison West Arts, which is a very, very, very new organization. We're actually still under review for 501c3 status. And we started this basically in order to support this project because it's a really large project. We're going to take 3 years over it, and we want to just continue that mission, you know, broader mission of doing more art projects than just this. But we felt like this required a sort of standing entity that was a 501c3 entity. So we just filed our paperwork, as I said, for incorporation, I think in December, and we're still under review for 501c3, and it's entirely volunteer. That being said, we are also in partnership with Harrison West Society. Myself and Annie are both also on the board for Harrison West Society, and that's a long-standing civic association. It was founded in 1977, and we do all sorts of different projects, everything from, you know, advising on building to safety to, you know, improvements to parks, to founding of parks, so on and so forth. So lots of different projects there. So this particular project came out of sort of a long-term community need for anybody who kind of uses the trail in this area frequently. And this is just south of 3rd Avenue, just next to the Olentangy River, on the Olentangy River Trail. This area is not the most attractive. And when you start running through this very, very long tunnel, it's very dark and kind of a little sketchy. So for a very long time, this has been sort of noticed as a site in our community that could really do with some improvement. So in June of last year, we were given the opportunity to apply for a grant with the Short North Foundation, and everyone sort of jumped up and was like, why don't we try and fix this area? It's huge, it's intimidating, but also it looks terrible. So that's kind of where this started. So we started kind of planning this out in June, and it kind of came from sort of neighborhood necessity in many ways. Okay, so Lori, would it be possible to go up to the map just so people can get a better sense of kind of where this is, because it's a little bit of a complicated site. Okay, cool. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with Harrison West. We're in the Short North. We're kind of like the furthest west Short North neighborhood. And this is sort of in the, not the heart of our neighborhood, it's kind of the edge of our neighborhood, but it's a really, really well-used area. It's like next to a lot of large communities. It's on the Olentangy River Trail, so lots of usage. And what you're looking at here is the site. So if you follow 3rd Avenue across, you can see 315 North and 315 South. We are interested in putting murals on the walls associated with the tunnel itself, and also on some of the pillars that are associated with 315 South. And Lori, would you mind scrolling up so you can kind of give them a sense of, and is this too much information? Am I about right? Is that, yeah, okay.
It's actually Patrick. Patrick is actually handling what's on the screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Lori. I'm so sorry, Patrick.
That's okay.
Thank you.
That's okay.
If you,
thank you very much, Patrick.
yeah, if you just tell me which page to go to, I can go ahead and do that for sure.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. I see where the pages are. Fantastic. Yeah, so if you just slowly scroll, that's perfect. So you can kind of get a sense of what the area looks like. It's this very, very long tunnel, huge swath of, you know, graffitied and then covered over wall, and then these pillars. And you can see some of the pillars in that picture right there. There we go. So it's a very, very large site. This is kind of also a complicated site because many different groups, many different government groups have jurisdiction over this area. So some of the reason why this has been going so slowly, you know, as I said, we've started in June, was because this area is kind of co-controlled by ODOT, City of Columbus Bridge Program, and also City of Columbus Rec and Parks. So we had to kind of negotiate who's going to maintain what, who has control over what, and there was no standing agreement at the time that we started asking for permissions to do this project. So at this point, we've now got permission from all 3 entities. They are fully on board and enthusiastic about having something here, and they've put formal, you know, agreements in place on who will do the maintenance and who is responsible for what. So that hopefully should be all sorted out. And if you guys have more questions about that, I'm super happy to forward conversations. Once we actually apply for permission, we can like send you official letters from all of those entities to show that we have permission for this. But I do have it in writing an email that they are enthusiastic about this project, all three groups. Okay, so now getting into sort of the bones of what we want to do here. So as I mentioned before, this is going to be hopefully a 3-phase project. That being said, these are all very expensive because the space is massive. So because we're a nonprofit, completely volunteer run, we have tried to hedge our bets a little bit in the sense that we have made each individual project, each individual phase, potentially standalone, so that if we don't, hit our funding goal in time, it's not like the space is going to look bad in the meantime. So what we're going to be doing is start with phase 1, which is going to be the exterior walls of the tunnel. So that will all be implemented at the same time, so it will look like one cohesive piece. And we won't start that work until we are fully budgeted for that. That will also include landscaping. Phase 2, which we're hoping to complete in and that will hopefully be implemented in 2021, in the fall of 2021. And then phase 2, we're hoping to implement in the fall of 2022. This would be the interior of the tunnel. So part of this would be to add some LED lighting into the tunnel because the tunnel is really, really dark. There's currently some sort of defunct lighting that doesn't work. And so a lot of people have brought up safety issues associated with this tunnel as well. So kind of part of the goal is to also bring in that safety element, make it a nice, bright, well-lit space. And then third phase would be 2023, same time frame, and it would cover the pillars on the opposite side of the tunnel associated with 315 South. Okay, as far as themes are concerned, we approached several different artists, and what we were looking for is ideally something that was bright, inviting, happy, positive, and somehow tied to the trail itself. So we were interested in highlighting some of the riverine nature that was in that area. And then, as far as artists are concerned, after we talked to multiple artists,
could I interrupt you for just a moment? Patrick, if you could just, sorry. Patrick, if you could just move ahead when Lee asks you to. I think we were a bit ahead of where she is in her conversation. Sorry about that. Yeah, so are you still on the first image, Lee, or are you on back? No, back to the first image. Yeah, that's right.
We're on the first image. That would be great.
Okay, and then you'll ask him when you need to advance from then. Okay,
yes,
great.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Yep. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Patrick.
you. Okay, so we consulted several artists about this. We landed on an artist named Ashley Pierce. I don't know how familiar you are with her work, but she is an absolutely fantastic person, and we felt like her work really epitomized the space. She does a lot of very creative work, very sort of nature inspired, but the idea behind a lot of her work is that she's kind of exposing this magical hidden world that's just beneath reality. So, and she incorporates a lot of nature themes into her work. So we thought she would be a really, really good choice. So she's the artist that we are working with and that we've commissioned. And in general, she's a mixed media artist. If you're curious to see some of her other work, she has a lot of different murals around Columbus, and I've included them at the very end of this PowerPoint in case people want to see them. We don't have to if you don't want to. I don't know how time works on these. Okay, so now for what we've got. So as I said, it's been a long time coming, but these are our absolutely first renditions. So we're super curious to see, like, are we on the right track? Would you have suggestions? Would you change things? What do you like? What do you not like? We received the majority of these only about a week ago. So these are really brand new. And if you wouldn't mind starting to scroll very slowly, that would be amazing. So, I could a little bit more slowly, sorry. So the top piece that you're looking at, a little bit further up, sorry, on page 8, I think. Yeah, okay. So this is the portion of the tunnel, the side of the tunnel that will be facing the Olentangy River. So this is the south portion of the tunnel. So as you're coming up north on the trail, you'll go through this area. And unfortunately, Ash couldn't attend this time. She's actually on an art sabbatical at the moment that goes through the whole of March, and she has no internet. But she is very, very happy to come to any meeting as long as it's not March. So if you want to talk to her about her vision, then she's also very happy to do that as well. But here you can see she's added this tunnel guardian. These are kind of the approximate colors. And then if you wouldn't mind scrolling to the next page. Thank you very much. So this is one possible rendition of the other side, of the northern side of the tunnel, or I guess the technically western side of the tunnel. And she's done several different variants. As I said, this is very early on. You know, these are the first images that we've seen of her ideas. So if you could scroll down, you can see she's come up with sort of some of the different orientations of the turtle images. She's got some different potential riders. Would you mind scrolling down to 10, please? Page 10. So you can see here some of the details that she's potentially given us. Could you scroll again, please, to the next page, 11? Thank you. Turtle. If you could go up to next one. Oh, no, yeah, there we go. So she's also incorporated, as we mentioned before, she's incorporated Ohio wildlife that is commonly found in this area. That's why the turtles, and also, I know it's kind of hard to see in the PowerPoint, but if you can zoom into that image, she's included some of the state butterflies, state insect, state wildflower, state amphibian. And then if you could go to the next, oh yeah, thank you. Sorry, can you zoom out a little bit? I meant if you zoomed out into the big images. Thank you so much. So these are the color palette that she's chosen. Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you very much. And some of the detail that she'll have in the night sky. Then if you could scroll to the next page. Here's another potential variant. You can see she's changed the riders. And then if you could scroll down again, you can see kind of a detail, that detail. I think that might be everything. Would you mind scrolling just one more time? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so these are so far what we've what we've received from her. And then let's see. Okay, so let's move into. So these are our first renderings. Would love your feedback. And then budget. As far as budget is concerned, for the very first phase. Oh, if you could stop scrolling, that would be awesome. So this is some of Ash's other work, which, as I said, we can go through that if you guys want to. Okay, so as far as budget is concerned, this is a fairly pricey project. So the first phase, so that's going to be the exterior walls of that tunnel, are $40,000 collectively. This is going to include a $2,000 interview with the artist, like a video that has an interview with the artist talking about the art. We feel that this is really important because it helps people sort of understand why she did what she did and gives it much more depth and meaning. It also includes $8,000 for landscaping and $500 for a new artist workshop. Ash is exceptionally passionate, and we are too, about new artists getting the opportunity to learn how to do these kinds of murals, these really large scale projects. So she would love to run a 4-part series for up and coming muralists so they can get a sense of kind of how to tackle projects like this. As far as funding is concerned, as I mentioned before, we applied for a Short North Foundation grant. We've received a $5,000 grant from them. We've also received a $10,000 grant from the Columbus Foundation, and we're still waiting back to hear from ComFest. We wanted to apply more grants, but honestly, we could not find very much out there that we could apply for this year because COVID has kind of decimated a lot of the potential funding opportunities. But we are also going to be pursuing funding through local businesses, which we've had a lot of success getting money that way for community projects through the Harrison West Society. So I have the utmost faith that we'll be able to raise this money. And that is pretty much everything I have. I can go into detail with who I'm working with the city. I can, talk about the budget in more depth, whatever people prefer.
Ashley, could you talk about your plans for sharing this with the community? And I'd like to just share with the commissioners that although there's a lot of information there, it wasn't requested to come in as an application because they haven't yet gone through the community, and they just received some of these more detailed images from Ashley right before we were ready to do this presentation. So they decided to share them.
Yes, exactly. So we're really early days, but we have grand plans. So as I mentioned, it's a co-sponsored project between Harrison West Society and Harrison West Arts. We've disseminated the artwork to both of our boards and gotten feedback that way. But as soon as we hear back from you, we are intending to release it to the world. We have a really strong Nextdoor network in Harrison West. We also have a very strong Facebook group in Harrison West as well. So we're intending to disseminate that way. If you haven't already, I'm not sure if I included this in the blurb about our group, but we have a website as well. that Annie designed. If you go to Harrison West Arts, we have an entire page and some subpages on this very project. And as soon as we are able to release information, we've been releasing it there as well. So yeah, and we're also going to be bringing it to the live Harrison West Society meeting for live feedback as well. If you have suggestions though, like super interested in, you know, any suggestions. Those are just the venues that we typically get feedback from neighbors through. Oh yeah, thanks, Annie.
No
Annie
problem.
just dropped Harrison West Arts link into the chat. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't see the chat where I was cutting out. If
No, I can
Diane,
hear you.
if you missed, oh, okay, good. Thank you.
Fine.
I'm so sorry. I had my notes on one side and
No worries.
the pictures on the other.
No problem. Thank you very much. I can see the detail that you've taken to make this work for us. So I'll throw it out to the commissioners. Do you have any questions?
I'm just curious about your priorities funding-wise. I'm hoping you will reach your funding goal, which, you know, sounds at this point reasonably doable. But if you don't, what will be your priorities? What, you know, will you kind of plan the project in phases, or are there aspects you might eliminate? How do you plan to do that?
Absolutely. So we kind of set it up specifically for that reason. So we're prioritizing the art first and foremost. We have talked to the city about potentially doing some mowing and some removal of some of the shrub stuff. So in that area, so there's really no need to do landscaping. That's something that we could parcel out as a separate project if we wanted to. So that would be $8,000. The informational video also is something that we really, really want to do, but you know, if there's just no way to raise that money, especially during COVID, it's a little harder. That one also could be cut. We would prefer not to cut the $500 for the internship-esque experience, because I think that's really important and it's pretty easy usually to raise $500. So we're hoping that we wouldn't have to cut that, but worst comes to worst, that is another potential option. If you'd like to see a budget, I'm super happy to share it. Pretty much everything else goes directly to the creation of the mural. So we've factored in not just the painting of the mural and the purchasing of the paintbrushes and paint. We've also factored in a UV protective coating that's graffiti protective as well. So Sherwin-Williams has a product that you can basically just take soap and water and remove graffiti. It's really expensive, but we think that we don't want to kind of pull the trigger on this project until we're ready to put that on there, because we don't want to spend a lot of money placing this in there and then finding that, you know, it fades very quickly, or it, you know, gets graffitied and we can't take that graffiti off. So we could delay if that's the case. We really feel that it's very important to have that. This also includes power washing the site before the art goes up, and also a very strong, I think it's a marine coat, once again, a Sherwin-Williams product, basically a coating that goes on first, like a primer that goes on first to make sure that the paint adheres properly and doesn't peel off. So does that answer your question? Basically, it's a combination of worst comes to worst, we can cut things. We can also sort of delay the timeline as well. But we definitely want to make sure that it is as maintenance-free, as, you know, durable, and as graffiti protected as we possibly can, because we don't want to do something that's going to, you know, not look good for a long time. Does that answer your question?
Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I do have some follow-up questions. So at this point, I really love the, you know, and enjoy your enthusiasm in the presentation. It's very comprehensive, and, you know, I can see the excitement, you know, and it's yeah, it's great. Yeah, so the question that I have is, so in terms of funding, right now, are there any specific grants that you're waiting on, you know, hearing back from?
Yes, we applied for the maximum amount, which is $3,000 from ComFest, the ComFest grant.
Wow.
That's the only one that we're waiting on. Unfortunately, so many of the places that we usually apply for funding, like United Way, they basically just either changed or terminated the types of grants that would have been applicable for this kind of project.
Yeah.
If you are aware of any other grants, we've searched and searched and searched and applied to pretty much everything we could find, which is honestly pretty limited. We're also, I believe, eligible to apply for the Short North Foundation grant again this year, because we were in a separate cycle and their board was somewhat split between awarding us $10,000 that year or awarding us 5,000. So I'm pretty, from casual conversations with board members, they have suggested that we might be able to apply for another 5,000 through them this year for this particular phase.
I see.
But
So
there's
what
no
is it?
guarantee.
Yeah, so but then you do have some funding at hand, and so does it mean that you can actually start the project on a specific, time frame this year?
So we don't want to actually start the project until we have it fully funded.
Oh,
Because as I mentioned, I want to make sure that the site is power washed, that the site is primed, so the paint adheres correctly, so the UV, coating can be paid for immediately, so that if there is tagging, it's not going to damage the end
I
result.
see. I see.
But
Yeah.
as I said, I don't foresee us missing our goals. We haven't asked any companies yet, and we have a lot of larger developments that are happening in our area, and those companies tend to be quite kind to us about,
Yeah.
especially about improvements that help
Yeah, for
improve
sure.
the areas
Yeah.
directly next to their,
Yeah.
new build.
Yeah.
We're right next to like a lot of wagon burner development, so we're hoping that
Yeah,
maybe they'll
exactly.
be a significant donor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we
This
have a
is
very long
definitely.
list. I'm very happy to share like our very long list of people we're gonna go like, please, can you help us do this
Yeah.
project, because it's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, as
Yeah,
far
for
as grants
sure.
are concerned, I have searched and searched and searched, and I can't find anyone else. So many places, so many art-sponsored grants won't allow you to do permanent installations like this because they're just so they're so expensive that they, or at least from my experience, you probably know way more. But when I've talked to them, they've been like, no, we don't do this because if we funded these kinds of projects, it would eat up our entire budget for that year. So it seems
Yeah.
like a lot of them would prefer to fund a lot of smaller projects.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
have ideas like, oh my goodness, that would be amazing, I am ready to write any grant that I can possibly apply for.
One of the things I thought about, because you mentioned that you're planning for some LED lighting, inside the tunnel, which is great. I think it improves not only, the viewing of the arts, but safety in general. I wonder if that falls into you guys, budget, or actually the city, has some, I don't know, you may want to talk to the city to see if they, because I would imagine like to install the lighting, you also need the electrician, and, there are some costs involved in, adding the lighting, right? So it does look like, it's worth to talk to the city to see if they might have any,
that would be
any
amazing. Yes,
resources
we
to help you.
definitely will. Sorry,
Yeah.
you could help us do that?
No, I
Is
mean,
that what you said? Sorry.
no, I have done a project in Dublin, in the city of Dublin, and also in a very similar situation. We actually paint the mural on both sides, and the city was kind enough to actually basically donate in kind, have all the new LED lighting along the tunnel. So
Really?
I don't know it applies to city of Columbus, but I'm just saying it is, because it is more than just the artwork. It's just in general to help the public safety. So
This is a genius idea. Thank you so much. We will definitely look into that. We've
yeah.
also been looking into AEP. They have specific grants, but you have to be invited to apply for them. But they also, I gather, will help fund lighting.
Yeah.
But yes, we will definitely. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate
Great.
that.
Sure.
Or
Eliza-
even GE, General Electric could be a source for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me write these down. Thank you. Yeah, we have not looked
And-
into GE yet.
That Eliza mentioned public safety. You might think about the project slightly differently and consider it as a community service. And you also might think of it as public safety, particularly in the lighting. And I mean, this is at another place I worked for. Sherwin-Williams gave a workshop. It may be that they would like research projects with their products, but it's worth a call to see if they are interested and what the criteria would be if they were interested in supporting just the paint itself and the surface. I don't know.
That is super cool. So we talked to them and they're already happy to give us a discount, but
Oh,
if they could cover the whole thing, that would be amazing.
it has, again, it's looking at the project just a slight different way.
Mhm.
Not just an art project, but it's also public safety and community service.
Mhm. Yeah, that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And Lori, I just saw that you put project start when phase 1 fully funded or whole project fully funded in the chat. So our idea, and obviously like we'd love feedback on this, but our idea would be to do each one. So fund each phase, complete each phase. So we'd fund phase 1, complete phase 1, fund phase 2, complete phase 2, so on and so forth. That's why we kind of are trying to make it each piece independent, like potentially freestanding, if that makes sense.
And the map has
But
more
the whole
detail on
design at the
phases.
end will be cohesive, if that makes sense.
Right. I think that's very smart. I think it's delightful. And Matthew, if you have any comments, Mariah and Liza and I have already spoken. I don't know if Lisa's still listening in, but any other comments to?
I did have a question.
I'm here. I'm
Okay,
listening.
sorry. Do you have any
Lisa,
other comments?
did you want to add a comment or a question before I?
I have nothing but great things. Ashley's such a great artist and person, and she's perfect for this. And she's very professional and will work very efficiently. I'd love to see the budget. My knowledge of murals, the way Sherman Williams and the approach is very smart, and I'm really, really loving the community service and educational aspects of this. And that's all I have to say.
Cool.
Right.
Actually, I mean, I think I'm going to echo what Lisa said, and everybody else has made some really good suggestions and comments. My question is, if I'm part of the community, I'm riding my bike through here, I love this mural. How am I going to find out who the artist is?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So part of the budget, and I don't know how best to send it to you. I don't know, Lori, should I email it to you and you can distribute to people, or is that? Anyway, no, I really am super happy you brought this up. So part of the budget, and we think it's a very important part of the budget, is that there will be plaques on either side talking about the artist, what the art, her interpretation of the art. So it will be fully, explained to the public. We're also going to have donors listed on those plaques. And then on top of that, we are currently working with Columbus Landmarks to create an art walk for Harrison West neighborhood. And so we'd be including it in the art walk as well. And I don't know how the city feels about this because I haven't gotten that far. We're still talking to Columbus Landmarks about it, but we were hoping that maybe it could also end up on the Columbus app, because there are art walks in the Columbus app, as you probably had a lot to do with that, which they are amazing. So if you did, thank you. But we were hoping maybe to also include it on there if the city would be willing to incorporate that. But yeah, we think it's very important. So much art that I've seen anyway around the city doesn't necessarily have any sort of explanation about the artist, or at least in Harrison West. And I think it's really important, and I think it's important to kind of get insight into why the artist did what she did as well. So yeah.
And Lee, if I could just add one thing to that, we actively designed the website with SEO in mind, and we're continuing to optimize that process.
Yes,
so
thank you, Annie.
So currently we show up if you Google Olentangy Trail mural or Harrison West mural or something like that. We have information about our artist on our website, and we're continuously improving that information to make sure that SEO is done well, and that people can find out whatever they're interested in finding out about our mural and what our organization does.
That's so good to hear.
And to jump off of that, we also are doing like information about different pieces of art around our neighborhood on our social media as well. So if you go onto Instagram or Facebook, we have highlights about every piece of art in the neighborhood, and as soon as this goes up, we'll also be doing that.
Okay. I don't know if you
I
have
have one thing to ask.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Sorry, Matt. Will there be a QR code or a hashtag to tie into the website?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one for Annie.
Yeah. So that's part of one thing that we're planning on doing to just get people interested in the mural before we're able to put it up. And we'll definitely have QR codes that correspond with the project once it's complete. But that's going to be a big component of how we include the neighborhood as we're fundraising and up until the point that we install the first phase, definitely.
If I could make one more suggestion, if you may have already included that, but you might include a line that says something to the effect of, please credit the artist in all photographs.
Yeah, get that.
Oh, genius.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. I hope you have enough feedback for now, and this is a wonderful project, and I'm really hopeful that the funding comes through for you.
Thank you. I don't want to hog time, but does anyone have suggestions? Do you give suggestions on what you like or don't like about the art? Ashley has been very, very open about like if there are things that don't look right or people don't like, and we'll get obviously feedback from the neighborhood as well. But if there is any feedback, we'd love to hear it, and no rush. But if you do have feedback, we'd be very curious to know because you guys have much more experience looking at these kinds of things than we do.
I can't wait to hear the story Ashley's going to weave with us, these visuals.
I know, me too. It's pretty great. She's already written us a few summaries. We have sort of descriptions of the image that you're seeing right now. She hasn't given us descriptions of kind of the story for the other side yet. So I'm very curious too. She's going to give that to us as soon as she gets back from sabbatical.
I think it's delightfully open-ended. It meets your objectives of being bright and colorful and lively. I've seen her work in other locations. I think she's a nice voice, and to add to anywhere. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. And I like that it's attractive to a great number of generations as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Eliza,
I love
do you
the
have something?
story. Yeah, no, I'm just saying, the storytelling component is very nice, especially you're riding on a bike, you're traveling with the story.
All right, thank you. Much luck to you.
Thank you so much for everything, for all of your help.
Sure.
Thanks so much for all the feedback.
You bet. I think we need to go on then to Mad Lab.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce this project. Brian Suter and Mandy Caskey with Catalyst Columbus. They were visiting you last year with the Stronger Together mural that is over the abandoned bridge portion between the old Whittier Peninsula and Marinova, where that's located now, Mound Street. They asked to bring this to you. It's a project that's on a private building downtown, the Mad Labs building, just to get some input from the commission and feedback. I think that was also something that a funder requested. I'll turn it over to Brian and ask that Brian direct Patrick to move through the material as she'd like to have us go through it. And you can take it away, Brian.
Great. Thank you, guys. Can everybody hear me okay? Good. So appreciate it. Mandy is on the phone with us as well, as is Jason Sudi, who is one of the board members for Mad Lab. So we have representation there. Unfortunately, both of our artists that we're working with were not able to join us today just because of the timing and their day jobs. But they suggested we could take any kind of feedback or any questions you have specifically for them if we can't answer them to get back to you guys. So just to quick do a recap, Catalyst Columbus was formed last year with the idea to elevate the community through large-scale contemporary murals throughout downtown, the Discovery District, and Franklinton. Our first piece was obviously the We Are Stronger Together that was on the bridge, as Lori had suggested, and then we did an additional piece last year up at Bridge Park. We were commissioned to work with the developer for Bridge Park to put a mural inside of the North Market, which is a new location for the North Market up at Bridge Park. So had a couple great projects last year, and this one is sort of the start off for our 2021 season. As Lori suggested, we are coming to you guys because we'd love to get your feedback and obviously hear what your opinions are on this piece. Obviously, it will be in the downtown area, so would love to hear sort of what your thoughts are. But in addition to that, our funder, who has funded the majority of the project, also asked that we just come in front of you guys just to make sure that we weren't doing anything offensive or obscene or ridiculous, and to have some, you guys be a backstop in terms of what our concept is. So we thank you guys for having us here. So what you're doing, and Patrick, you can go on to the next page. We've got two artists that we're working with for the Mad Lab building, which is located at 227 North 3rd Street. Two facades we're going to be working on: the north facade, and then the facade on the front that faces 3rd Street. The two artists that we're working with are Marcus Billingsworth, and then I'm sorry, I just forgot her name. Thank you very much. I was like, yeah, appreciate that. I should probably have my own document sitting in front of me so I can do that. But needless to say, Marcus is going to be working on the north wall, and Jen is going to be working on that east wall, or the facade that actually faces the street. The idea originally came from, we approached Jason and Mad Lab, understanding that they had, a good canvas for us to be able to paint on and to be able to, extend the mission of Catalyst. And they were excited about the idea. And part of that is the concept of adding or combining visual arts with performing arts. And if you guys haven't been to Mad Lab before, it's obviously a performing arts center that unfortunately has been relatively dormant through COVID, but they are looking to expand and start back up again here shortly, as we all start to get vaccines and they can start their ensemble again. So the pieces that you look at there and the artist statements are in the documentation that I had sent around before. But what we were really looking at is trying to figure out a way to be able to have two artists participate together. You'll see in the imagery that we've provided that there are some sort of pieces and parts that are going to carry from one portion of Jen's piece into Marcus's piece and vice versa. And so the process that we did was essentially went to Mad Lab and asked them to create some creative direction for us, or sort of a brief of creative ideas that both their board and their ensemble put together. With that, we provided that to Marcus and Jen, paid them for the concept renderings that you see here, and then provided those back to the board at Mad Lab. So we've gone through that process at this point. There are obviously going to be some tweaks and some things that we continue to work out with Mad Lab and the artists prior to us actually putting paint on the side of the wall. But generally what you see there are the concepts that we're moving forward with. Our expectation is that we'll start to do the work. We have to clean up the wall a little bit, get it power washed, do a little bit of scraping and that type of stuff. But ultimately, hoping that we'll be able to execute on this as soon as the weather's warm for more than a couple weeks. So rather than taking up more of your time and babbling, I'll open it up if there are any questions. And Mandy or Jason, feel free to chime in if you guys have anything to add.
So we're not seeing a potential design yet.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Patrick, you can keep, there you go, cruising through, sorry.
Okay, got it.
So that's the front facade, and then the side facade is, keep going just a little bit, there you go. And this wall is about 150 feet long, and so you'll see that it's a relatively sizable one. Marcus has made the decision that he doesn't particularly want to go all the way down the wall, although we may, very well take that very far right side of the wall and painting it one of the, primary colors as a background. But typically there's cars or trucks that are parked there, so it's not something that he felt like needed to necessarily be, additive to the rest of the project.
Trying to find something offensive or obscene about this, and I'm not really finding anything. It's delightful. It's got an edge to it that I like. Two-headed rabbits. Is there a concept behind that?
Yeah, so I'll just sort of go back to the artist statement and just read through that really quickly. And this portion is Jen's, and so what she had said was, and I'm just going to read verbatim for this. I want to do a piece that was based on community, safety, transformation, and growth, both as a community and as an individual. I chose to use rabbits in my imagery because they live in burrows in very close-knit communities and are reliant on each other. Every community wants to grow and move forward, and knowledge is the beacon that sheds the light to illuminate the differences between our current reality and what we can strive to create together. The rabbit moves through portal-like pathways opened up through new experiences and knowledge. But just as there are always two choices to be made in any situation, the rabbit has two heads. This symbolizes the choice that we have of either action or inaction, to use and absorb new information to better everyone or not.
Dig it.
Cool.
Is that enough branding on the Mad Lab above that? It
Yeah.
seems like
Where their signage is going to actually be.
Yeah, it's a good question. And Patrick, if you can go up just to show the existing imagery, the existing building, you'll see that their Mad Lab sign is right there with a couple block windows below that. So what we'll do is we'll either paint around the sign or paint behind it. And then obviously leave those glass block windows, glass block as it is. We do want to make sure that a couple things. One, we make sure that we still have their signage that isn't impeded at all, as well as their address. And so we'll figure out best ways to be able to keep those identified. And then in addition to that, one of the things that Mad Lab has asked once they saw these concepts is on, Patrick, if you can go to the other image of the existing building, just the, yeah, go up, where is it? There we go. They have used this portion of the building on the far right, essentially a placard to show what their existing shows are. And so we're going to work with them to figure out how we can alter or change Marcus's design a little bit to be able to leave them a little bit of space to put up, now showing or, upcoming kind of events to be able to allow them to continue to advertise on that side of the building.
Yeah, okay. That's cool.
The art that is already existing right there, we contacted the artist to let him know that there is a new mural going up. And depending on the state of that piece, we are going to try to preserve it. And I think Mad Lab might take it in, or the artist might take it back. We're just going to give kind of an open-ended option on what to do with that piece of art right there, just to make sure, everybody's happy.
The mural with the faces on it,
Mhm.
I had a question about what looks to me like purple cartoon,
Thought bubbles.
thought bubbles. Are you expecting the community to fill those in? Because to me, it looks very inviting.
Well, it's a good question. I think Marcus's intention or thought was that those thought bubbles stay open to be able to allow people to sort of fill those in their own minds. I think on the very far right of the page with the little boy that's sitting there, the thought bubble that's right above his head may very well be where we put that the address signage for the building. So I think there's an opportunity to sort of use some of those, but I think Marcus's intent was really to keep them open to allow you to sort of fill them in your own mind's eye. And actually, it's a good detail to point out. None of these individuals are specific individuals. He went in to the internet and found individuals that were expressing the kind of emotions that he wanted to describe and portray, but aren't specific individuals that he was looking for. They are truly just sort of random people.
Comments?
Yeah, I like the use of color. I like the hierarchy that creates the way the green bubbles pop in a great way and interact well with the different faces. Yeah, and
So
I think Marcus's work is really good. That was my last comment. Sorry, Eliza.
No, you're fine. No, I was just looking at the photo, but I can't tell very clearly. So this is a parking lot, right? So the cars is going to head in towards the wall.
Correct. That is
And
correct.
yeah,
Yep.
so right now I don't see any wheel stopper. I was just thinking from, like maintenance standpoint and, and the protection of the mural, and I don't know if there is any thoughts about, having wheel stops, for each of the parking spaces.
It's a great point that I hadn't noticed before. So the building is actually owned from a separate ownership from the parking lot. So we're working right now with the adjacent landowner to get permission to do it and take time, obviously, for staging and the execution. And we can bring that up as well and see sort of what their thoughts are with that, and see if that's something they would be interested in working on.
Yeah, yeah. I do like the art a lot. Really very energetic.
Great, that's awesome. Thank you.
My biggest worry is that you're going to have a lot of graffiti in the thought bubbles. That's all.
It's a good concern. Yeah, it's something that we'll bring up with Matt, or bring up with Marcus to see what his thoughts are. And I think it's a great suggestion, or a great pointing out for it.
That building
I
doesn't
suggest
normally get
the graffiti coat. So cover it so you can just wash off whatever, because that is an open invitation.
For sure.
In that design.
Yeah, it's something that we can look at, and we've got the majority of the funding for the project already has already been secured and already fortunately in our bank account, so we're ready to go. And Jason is also working on reaching out to some of his benefactors as well to see if we can expand that dollar amount so that we can potentially do graffiti coating or also do some videography and photography of the piece just to be able to get it out in the community.
One little fun thing might be the signage on the building behind, because right now the folks are saying we have lots of bourbon.
That's funny. That's good. I like that. Oh man.
All right, great. And Mad Lab has always been a really creative and wonderful community partner. So I'm thrilled that you're going to be able to work with them.
Yeah, they've been an incredible partner with us so far. And again, that tie-in between visual arts and performing arts is really something that we can really take advantage of and really to use for the advantage of both of our organizations, which is great.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's really smart to reach out to Roger to see if he wants his piece.
For sure.
Been there for a
Chatted
minute.
with him, or
it's exciting to see something new for the area.
Yeah, it'll be great. This is a really highly traveled road, obviously, right? You're coming off the highway into downtown, so we have the opportunity to really, create a gateway into the community with Mad Lab's building and really brighten up that, that access point, which is great. We're really excited.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, we don't vote or anything for this kind of thing. So unless there are other comments, I want to thank you for bringing it to us and lightening up our day.
Great. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Lori, is there anything else you want to talk with us about?
Yeah, just real quickly, legislation was finally submitted for the extra funding that's needed for the Columbus Crystals project in the Short North. Mark Riggleman's piece, we needed to get extra funding for the lighting.
Great.
And it just took a really long time to get it through and get it submitted, but I'm hoping it went through as emergency. I'm pretty sure it did, so we don't have a 30-day waiting time. That would be a problem. So really the schedule at this point that Mark has for the installation of the artwork, or moving toward installation, it's in fabrication right now, is May 1st, they're going to put in all the order for the electrical foundation work. April 15th, the deposit's going to go to Setterland, the local construction sub who's going to be doing that work. And really all throughout the month of May, it's going to be electrical installation, foundation installation. The sidewalk has to be torn up and then replaced as the electrical goes in, because we'll be drawing it from electricity around the corner on West Hubbard Street, bringing it across the street and around the corner. And the lighting, just in case you don't remember, it's going to be uplighting that will be in the planter beds that will portions that remain on either side of the piece when it goes in, and we're looking at installation, everything going well, to be on or around June 15th. So Mark has a pretty aggressive schedule going now that the piece is in fabrication to just kind of pull it together. And really the key for this is the additional funding that we need for the artwork. One of the things that we're doing with the funding that I submitted is recreating a contingency, because we already went into the other contingency. And one of the items that we're looking at is, as you may recall, there's one of those big ugly traffic electrical boxes at the corner of West Hubbard and High, not too far off where the piece is going to be placed. It's not right on top of it, but it's an eyesore. And Mark and I have been kind of going around on that, and we're looking at wrapping it. So we might be coming back to you. If it happens, we'll definitely be back to the commission to seek approval to wrap that box. And what we're thinking about is taking a photograph of the stone that's in the adjacent retaining wall for the parking lot, and just taking a photograph of that and then kind of blowing it up, and then, sort of a photo reel, I guess, and then wrapping it around the box so that it's something that kind of blends into the environment, things that are already there. And then this is a little bit a step aside that might happen if we don't run into any other problems with the contingency, is taking some of the shapes that have been cut out of the piece, either using those shapes if they're not too small, or, so the shapes of the violin, the shapes of the circular saw, whatever shapes you personally use to try and identify an item in the artwork, and then that kind of allows you to identify other items. Taking those crumbs, and because we have to tear up the sidewalk, excuse me, and replace everything, put everything back, the possibility of pinning some of those pieces into the sidewalk when it's redone, so that near the piece we'll have some, like, again, we're calling them crumbs of the shapes of the pieces that are cut out in relief in the piece itself, just to kind of help kids and folks identify some of those items, and maybe make it a little bit easier for them to identify than the actual piece. So that project continues to move forward. Really, it's getting really quick, and we're very close to the installation the way this year's going. Hopefully you all were heartened by the conversation that you had with the director last week, Director of Development, Mike Stevens, about where they're seeing some projects going. I am just about ready to pull the trigger on a first meeting date for the Christopher Columbus committee, and that would be for sometime on the morning of April 8th. I don't have the exact time right in front of me, but commissioners, you'll all be made aware of that. It will be posted in the city bulletin, and as I've mentioned before, you can dial into it through WebEx and watch the committee and listen to what's happening, so we don't have to worry about having over 4 members there and the quorum issue kicking in, because it will already be something that's been posted to the city bulletin. That's where I am right now. The only other thing that I'm doing is starting to pull together some of the items that the director indicated we could move forward with, and so that will be getting a meeting with Mary and Lisa and Marine around the existing collection, and figuring out the next steps with that. And then also getting together, I think, with Lisa, Matthew, and I'm not sure if there's another person with the city symbols, so we could just start talking about the RFP, pulling that together, because that's going to be the next important thing, so we can move that. Can start maybe taking a slow look at what will happen if we're able to get the funds for doing the planning for the new public art piece for City Hall, but I'm reluctant to dive into it too much until we know whether or not we're going to get those funds. If we do, it's a pretty significant amount, and we'll be ready to move on that. So that will move up, I think, in some priority. But I think that there are enough things that are happening, hopefully, and certainly tell me if I'm wrong, if you agree or disagree, to start giving you some movement and some accomplishment with the tasks that the mayor had laid out for the commission last year. And that's a really nice shed you got there, Lisa. I see in your background. I love it. You're always walking around outside. You're like our beat reporter artist.
Oh my God. So true.
So that's kind of it for me.
Sounds good.
Any other feedback, commissioners?
I'm ready to get started on the city symbols as soon as you have some goals for the RFP. You mentioned getting an intern or somebody that knew how the city worked to sort of consult on the RFP process.
I don't think that's necessarily going to be necessary. We might get an RFP to assist with various tasks because there's a lot. I've written a lot of RFPs, so I think because it's a request for proposal, there's sort of a marriage between the written RFP that we do and then all of the city legal jargon that has to be attached to that RFP before it's released out into the wild. And the city part is firm, that's never going to change. That's already together. So what we really need to do is focus on the elements of the RFP and what the commission will be looking for from the consultant team for the City Symbols project, kind of the lead, and then any subcategories that would need to be included in that. And I think thinking through a bit the goals of the public participation process, because that I think is something that could really, if it's done in as full a way as the mayor has indicated, and we would like to have it done, that's going to bring some time to the project as well as cost to the project, because that part's not inexpensive. It would have to be multifaceted. So just start thinking about that, and also starting aside just note for use as we start moving forward, people that you think should maybe be tapped to be a part of a subcommittee for this process, working with the commission. Just kind of mull that idea over and who you think maybe should be asked to participate in that. But I think that the big thing to think about, in particular, Lisa and Matthew, are the elements that you want to see included in the RFP that can be shared with the broader commission, as well as some of your ideas as to how what it means to fully accomplish those things, including any actions that might have to be taken. When we're interviewing consultant teams, they're going to look at the goals that we have in the RFP, and they're going to come to us with strategies as to how to make those actionable. So we don't have to figure it all out for them, but definitely have some ideas that that can be included in the RFP. I think it's going to be a fairly it's going to be a multi-page RFP that we'll be putting together for this process.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, I'm delighted that the director could talk with us, and I feel a little more confident that he's supporting what we have to do. So I was glad, and personally, I would feel really confident if Matthew and Lisa would work with you on that RFP and or read it after you've written it. And their work on the committee will be important.
Happy to help wherever we can. And as you know, Lisa and I have very definite ideas about what we'd like to do. So
Yeah, we've
Okay.
already
And
had
I
a good
think-
jump for all the conversation we've already had.
And I think that the director responded well to that. You know, he saw more in depth a bit of information that you had provided from your earlier work, and then kind of the cheat sheet that we had attached to the agenda. And, you know, he responded really well to that. The only other thing that we'll need to try and nail down for the capital budget next year, or for the budget next year, I think this would have to come out of operating funds, is the budget to run this process, and to really try and fully flesh that out as much as we possibly can, so it's not kind of a WAG notion that may go up at some point or down at some point, but you know, try and give a really good indication of what we think it's going to cost to get this done.
Okay.
So I'm done on my part of it. I don't know if commissioners have any other items that they want to share.
Deliver Black
Hearing
Dreams will be back next month.
What will be back next month?
Deliver Black Dreams.
Oh, okay.
With
Great.
2 more mural requests. And that's funny because Marcus is one of the muralists. And it's not Billingsworth, it's Billingsley, but I didn't want to be correcting him in his presentation.
Well, that's great. Good to look forward to. Diane, any other thoughts as chair? Diane, you're on mute, I think.
That's good because I didn't say anything important. I think this is fine, and looking forward to seeing next month's. If there's any follow-up you need from us for the 2 folks who brought their preliminary project discussion to us, let us know. I think we're ready to adjourn.
I have a quick question. Do they need to change anything in their presentations, or were they solid enough for us to make a decision?
They weren't ready for us to make a decision. I talked to them about coming in as an application or coming in as a preliminary project description. What happened is that they had sort of a general sketch that the artist, Ashley, had put together, or Ash had put together. And then right before our meeting, they got the other information.
I understand that, but if someone were to present that as the application, would it have gone through?
Yeah, well, they're still working on nailing some of that down, because she had 2 options, you may recall, for that.
I do. I'm sorry, Lori. It was a general question, not theirs specifically.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if the quality of their presentation works for.
I think the quality of the presentation was much higher than what we normally see at a preliminary project discussion. So I wouldn't expect a whole lot of changes, but they haven't really vetted it in the community yet. And that's one of the reasons why they haven't
I understand.
done the application. So it was a little confusing, but they just wanted to show you.
No, I like the pre-thought about it. I like introducing it early. I just wondered if you thought something like that was at the level that someone could present that we could vote on, or did it seem like it needed a lot more info?
We could have easily presented if they had, selected one of those images for that one, that first approach wall. I think they were really close. They would have had to nail down the budget a bit more and provided more detail on those aspects of it, but they weren't ready to do that yet. But for the art, I think that they're very close. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. No other questions.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yep. Thank you, Patrick.
So we don't have to vote to adjourn or anything like that?
No.
Just say bye, see ya.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice week.
Okay.
Bye,
I'll
everyone.
take a motion to adjourn.
I first that motion. Everybody.
Who's going to second?
I'll second it.
Thank you,
All
Matt.
right,
All
we're
right, have a
adjourned.
good one, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
you guys.
Take care, everybody.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Oh.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.